This is the basic cast-on for the knitting board. I'll be using a Universal S Loom from CinDWoodCrafts. Each Universal S Loom has color pegs, which we will not be using when working double panel knitting. These are skipped. We will only be using the beige or white pegs while we work the double panel knitting. To work the basic cast on, you will need some waste yarn to use as anchor yarn. The anchor yarn will hold the live stitches, making it easier to find them to bind off. You will need about 3 times the length of the pegs that you're working with. To start the basic cast on, I've placed a slip knot on the first beige peg of the top row of the loom. We will be skipping the peg directly opposite and bringing our working yarn to the front of the second peg of the bottom row. We will skip the peg directly opposite and come around the front of the third peg on the top row. We will skip the third peg on the bottom row and come around the fourth peg of the bottom row. Remember, always skip the colored pegs on this loom. We'll keep wrapping and skipping the pegs directly opposite until we have the number of pegs that we need for our piece that we're knitting. I've now wrapped 10 pegs, not counting the blue, for my project. The first pass has been counterclockwise. I now need to turn and wrap the pegs that I skipped, working clockwise around the board. So I'll bring my working yarn to the top, the first peg that has, or excuse me, the last peg that was skipped, around the front of it, directly to the next peg that was skipped, to the next, and the next. Working back the other direction until I have come to the end of the row. That makes a complete row by working one pass counterclockwise and the next pass clockwise. Once all pegs have been cast on in the number that you need for your knitting piece, we need to lay in the anchor yarn. We're going to lay the anchor yarn on top of the yarn for the cast on row and bring the tails down the center of the loom and out the sides, excuse me, out the bottom, so that we can tie them together in a simple overhand knot. We're now ready to work our first row.